In this week's episode, we are finishing up our 8-day tour from Rome to Amalfi with Intrepid Travel. We start today's episode driving along the crazy, well-known Amalfi Coast road to our last location, the city of Amalfi. We were blown away with this city, and you will be too when you hear all about it. The town, the beaches, the history, and one of our favourite things, the spectacular waterfall hike into the mountains above the city, walking through lemon groves, exploring ancient ruins on the side of a crystal clear river and past many waterfalls. And then we stopped for a cold drink at one of the most authentic little Italian restaurants right up in the hills. It was beautiful. Our accommodation was a locally owned hotel in the best position in Amalfi, which is one of the things Intrepid Travel pride themselves on. And we tell you about the piazza where we were staying, the incredible duomo, which dominates the city, the pretty streets full of funky shops, and the hidden little places and restaurants we enjoyed thanks to our local guide, Luca. We couldn't miss a ferry ride to the glamorous city of Positano, and it is as spectacular as you could imagine. And then, oh my gosh, we tell you about the craziest day, St. Andreas Day, that started with a rude awakening from cannon fire, actual cannons, and very loud bell ringing from the church right outside our room that went on for over 10 minutes. And this was all before 6 a.m. And then finishing at midnight with a very unique religious parade and procession that culminated with a fascinating tradition, which we had no idea was going to happen. And it involved a massive silver statue, men running up 62 stairs, all because of pirates. Oh, and listen to how much trouble we got into trying to make our way through the jam-packed plaza while this was going on. Only 3 of us made it through. Stay listening to the end to hear our final thoughts and fond memories of this Intrepid Travel tour. But not just ours. I actually spoke to the others on the tour, and we will tell you about what they thought, their recommendations, and of course, everyone's favourite place for a glass of wine throughout our trip together. So please enjoy our last instalment of our tour from Rome to Amalfi. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Good morning, Lyle. How are you today?
Buongiorno, Leonita.
As I said in the intro, we are on our last leg of our Intrepid Travel tour, and where we ended off last time, we were in Sorrento, and this is day 6. We're up. We've got to leave our beautiful hotel behind and head to the next stop, which is Amalfi.
Correct.
Right? Now, I think everybody in the world has heard of the Amalfi Coast, and it's famous for the drive, isn't it? I know people just go to drive the Amalfi Coast. So this was our opportunity to do some driving on the Amalfi Coast, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, it's from Sorrento to Amalfi. It's only 31.3 k.
Doesn't sound far, does it?
No, but it took us an hour and a half.
They did say that. They did say
it. Yeah. So it does take a long way. It's quite a narrow dual carriageway.
It was obviously built a long time ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's certainly not for the faint-hearted.
No.
But the I suppose the bonus is because it takes so long, because the traffic's so chaotic and so intense, you do get more time to look at it's almost unbelievably beautiful coast.
It is, yes. And let me just sort of give a bit of a picture, because you say that the traffic's chaotic. It's not so much like you see the traffic jams that we have here, but as it is only a dual carriageway, as you said, and, we're in a small sort of van, but, we're probably one of the smaller vehicles. There's tourist buses, there's trucks, there's obviously the motorbikes that are zipping in and out, and there's these big sweeping curves right along that go right out of the sort of jagged coastline, right?
Correct.
And, sometimes the buses can't even turn properly around those curves.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible.
Sometimes you stop and people are doing like a couple of 3-4 point turns just to get around.
Yeah.
So,
but as you said, and it's it's relevant that when they built those roads, it wasn't for the traffic that's there now.
No, but as you said though, it's just beautiful. You basically like the peninsula is sort of rocky, and there's the view of the seas, and you can see all the tiered lemon groves, and there's other little villages, and you can look down sometimes over these luxury hotels that are right down on the water, and then to the other side there's sort of like the valleys that are going up into the mountains, like, and you can see like tracks and things where people actually have to walk up. Like, you just can't believe how steep it is, but how beautiful it is. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So after our drive, which got my heart racing, I have to admit.
Yeah.
We arrived in Amalfi.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that Amalfi was a city. I didn't know. I just thought it was the Amalfi Coast.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I've got to admit that I was very ignorant of that.
I know, and people said, "Oh, Amalfi's not that nice," but I disagree. Well, anyway, we arrived.
Yeah, so you can't actually drive into Amalfi.
No.
So our private transport parked. It's almost
like a designated parking area, isn't it?
Parking area. Anyway, it was only a really, really short walk to.
It'd be 100 meters at most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Hotel Fontana.
Yes.
So it wasn't far. So if you want to stay in the historic centre overlooking the Duomo piazza, shadowed by the Cathedral Sant Andrea, only minutes walk to the beach, Hotel Fontana is perfecto.
Oh, that sounds like a really good ad. How much are they paying you for that?
Well, seriously, it was in
it was
an
great.
Unbelievable position.
You basically go through sort of two arches to get into Amalfi, and as you said, the first thing you sort of come across is that big piazza, which has got the Duomo, and Hotel Fontana is right there. Now, once again, that's one of the things Intrepid Travel, pride themselves on, is finding locations, the best locations for their hotels, and family-owned hotels, and this fitted that bill perfectly. We loved it. So what you can do is like some of the rooms overlook the piazza, didn't they?
Yeah, and on the other side, they actually overlook
some of our friends were looking over the ocean.
Yeah. So it's look. I had a quick look at it, booking.com, which I always do, and the overall rating was 8.1.
Yes.
But the location was 9.7, and a well-deserved 9.7.
Sure. And I don't even know why it's not 10. I don't quite understand that. But actually, I reckon the minus 0.3, I reckon we could add to that. We're going to tell you a bit about what the location of the hotel had in store for us. It was pretty exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was different.
But before we do that, I think everyone out there is obviously waiting with bated breath to hear about the history of Amalfi, Darling.
Well, Amalfi is a town in the province of Salerno in the region of Campania, Italy, on the Gulf of Salerno. It lies at the mouth of a deep ravine at the foot of Monte Cerreto. Now, Monte Cerreto is 1,315 metres or 4,314 feet. So it's not small.
No, that's right. You can look straight up to the mountain.
Okay, and it's surrounded by dramatic cliffs and coastal scenery.
It is.
The town of Amalfi was the capital of the maritime republic known as the Duchy of Amalfi, and an important trading power in the Mediterranean between 839 and 1200. Now, it began as a maritime power trading grain from its neighbours, salt from Sardinia, and slaves from the interior, and even timber in exchange for gold dinars minted in Egypt and Syria, in order to buy the Byzantine silks that it resold to the West. Merchants of Amalfi were using gold coins to purchase land in the 9th century, while most of Italy worked in a barter economy. An independent republic from the 7th century until 1073, Amalfi extracted itself from the Byzantine subordination in 839 and first elected a duke in 958. In spite of some devastating setbacks, it had a population of some 70,000 to 80,000 during the reign of the Duke of Manso. That seems incredible that there's that many now. So, compared to now. In 1135, and 1137. Amalfi was taken by the Pisans, which is the people from Pisa, sorry, and rapidly declined in importance, though its maritime code, known as the Amalfian Laws, was recognised in the Mediterranean until 1570.
Wouldn't that be funny if there were pizza people?
I'm not sure, but the tsunami in 1343 destroyed the port and lower town, and Amalfi never recovered to anything more than local importance.
Well, tourism now, obviously.
Now, and I think that all happened around the 1970s.
And it was a big shipbuilding area, because there's like a museum there where they have some shipbuilding. Yeah, so in under the sort of a sneaky little spot to go in, have a look at.
Yeah, well, they say one of Amalfi's favourite son, which I can't think of his name at the moment, he actually perfected the maritime compass.
Oh, yes.
So, the maritime
theme
history,
yes.
I think was probably more prominent than, you and I probably think it was.
Yes. Well, so we've arrived. We've told you how wonderful our hotel is. We check in.
Yep.
We check in, like Luca hands out our keys like he always does. Like, you don't have to think about anything. All the guys help carry our suitcases up those stairs, and we're in it's a nice sort of dining reception area.
Well, Luke always gives us a layout of the land and what the facilities of the hotel.
Another benefit of being on an Intrepid Travel tour, you have guides doing all the work for you.
So what did you think of the room?
Oh, it was fine. Yeah, it was big, aircon. I didn't have any issues with it. And once again, 2 more nights so I can wash some undies, hang them out.
Sure, and free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, free. Yeah.
And I thought you'd say straight away, what about the balcony?
Well, I thought I did say that earlier. Our room opened onto this beautiful little, well, not that big, but a balcony that you could walk out onto, and we were looking straight over the Piazza Duomo. And there's restaurants and cafes and the Duomo that we're going to tell you about, and just people and lemons and all sorts of stuff happening.
The lemon. What do they call them? Slushies.
Yeah, the lemon gelatos and slushies, all that sort of stuff. So, Intrepid nailed this one.
So Luca pointed out the main tourist attraction.
Yep, he did.
Showed us how to get to the less busy beach.
We went for a walk. When you say showed us, we went under tunnels and up, it was like round and round the mulberry bush. It was, and then we ended up in this little plaza where there's a band, like a brass band playing, and then we went up another tunnel and through, and then all of a sudden
it was almost like a maze, wasn't it?
It was, and then you emerge on the other side of the road, and you're walking through arches with what's that flower, the spiky one, the beautiful bougainvillea. Covered arches, and you're there at the little quiet beach that he showed us. Yeah.
So then it was getting to lunchtime. Once again, Luca had organised a group lunch at the Ristorante Il Chiestro.
Yeah.
Now that was in Via dei Prefettori. Now the reason why I say the address, because the food was fabulous.
Yeah, it was great. And I'll put a link to that.
It was actually
on the website.
It wouldn't have been easy to find.
No.
But obviously Luca knew exactly where we were going. Both Leanne and I had the capellini pasta with shrimp and lemon sauce, and it was only €18, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a fabulous lunch. For lunch, we had some free time, and the first thing that you're going to talk about now is probably the dominant feature of the Amalfi Piazza there, and straight out of our hotel room on a balcony is exactly what you're going to talk about now is the Duomo, and it is just beautiful. And look, go and have a look at beachtravelwine.com, the podcast and show notes, episode 72, because you're not going to believe this view that we had. And when Lyle tells you all about it, you're going to want to go and have a look. So I got some beautiful photos from the balcony, from downstairs, in the day, in the night. Wow. So there's a lead for you, Dom. Off you go.
Yeah, look, the thing about this particular cathedral, and we've seen, This is our 8th week. We've seen all the most beautiful churches, whether it
Milan and the
be,
Vatican.
the Vatican, all this. But this was different.
Yeah.
As soon as you looked at it, it was sort of like, wow, it just looked different. So I'll just give you a bit of the deal on it. The Cattedrale de Sant'Andrea is a medieval Roman Catholic cathedral in Piazza del Duomo. It is dedicated to the Apostle St. Andrew, whose relics are kept there.
Well, St. Andrews, yes. So remember that name.
Same deal.
Yes.
Begun in the 9th and 10th century, it has added to and redecorated several times, overlaying Arab, Norman, Gothic, Renaissance, Baroque elements. And finally, a new 19th century Norman Arab Byzantine facade. The cathedral includes the adjoining 9th century Basilica of the Crucifix. Leading from the basilica are steps into the crypt of St. Andrew, where the relics can be found.
All right.
Now the exterior.
Yeah. Okay. Let's spark this up a bit, hey? Let's give them some nice details.
Okay. So the front.
Imagine this, guys.
Okay. The front facade is striped marble and stone. So that's the first thing you really see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep.
With a pediment decorated, and the pediment is basically
that triangle bit above the entry.
The roof, basically.
Yes.
Now that's decorated with mosaics and the deep porch with windows of delicate Arab Moorish tracery, similar to but more ornate than the original. The semicircular decorative wall surface over the entrance mosaics portray the triumph of Christ.
Now, I have pictures of that, so it's really beautiful. Yeah.
Now, the 62 wide and steep steps lead up to the doors that were cast in Constantinople before 1066.
That's incredible, isn't it?
So once again, someone's pinched them.
Yeah, and brought them back.
Yeah,
but that's, to me, the staircase sort of stood out. You're in the piazza and you look up this magnificent wide staircase, and then that you've got, as Lyle was just describing, that marble striped exterior, and then you look up further and you've got the beautiful mosaics. It's stunning.
Yeah. Look, and what probably the thing that sort of got me the most was begun in 1180 and completed over 100 years later. The Romanesque style bell tower is topped by a cluster of 4 small towers around a larger one, and decorated with brightly coloured tin glazed tiles, forming interlaced Gothic arches in an Arab Norman style. And it's just incredible.
And that's the view we had from our hotel.
Correct.
It was just a mind blowing. It was really nice.
So right next to it is
check out the photos because they're really good.
Okay, right next to it is the Chiestro del Paradiso. Let me start it again.
Let's do it again.
Chiestro del Paradiso.
Okay.
Is located to the left of the cathedral porch, is a captivating architectural masterpiece that exhibits a Moorish style design.
Mm. There's a lot of that Moorish.
There's
geometric is sort of the
way and I think the thing is we because we've been to Spain, there's a lot more Moorish architecture there.
Sure.
But here, it's really the first Moorish architecture we've seen in Italy. It was constructed in 1266. These magnificent cloisters were originally intended to serve as the final resting place for Amalfi's esteemed citizens. The cloister of Paradise features a central garden encircled by you can't believe this, 120 marble columns which support a series of tall and graceful Arabic arches. We can also access the Basilica of the Crucifix, which serves as a museum. Descending below the cloisters, you will find the crypt that houses the sacred relics of St. Andrews the Apostle.
So it joins underneath the church.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, wow. So that's all there, and everyone just thinks Amalfi's the coast.
Yeah, look, that is, it's worth really having a good look. And I mean, have a decent look. Spend a bit of time there.
Yeah, sure. And go and have a look at the photos on the website, yeah?
Yeah.
So we did have a bit of free time as we said, we had lunch and then, checked out these places. But one thing I wanted to do was, before we went out for dinner, was just wander the streets a little bit. And there's sort of one main street that leads off the piazza,
Sure.
and that's lined with, all sorts of shops, lemons and tourist shops and football shops and art and
fashion.
Yeah, all the stuff, shoes, and it just goes on block after block after block, probably 3 or 4 blocks. But in sort of running parallel to that, if you sort of, I don't know, they're not secret, but they almost seem secret. There's like little walkways that head off each way. And, if you go left, you go through this sort of tunnel, arch sort of tunnel, and you end up in another little plaza. Or if you go right, which we did when we had lunch, you find these walkways, don't you, that have like little restaurants and other little places to little galleries and things, don't you?
Yeah, look, I found that quite unique to Amalfi.
Yeah,
the town of Amalfi. So
it was, and so it was nice exploring those, and we didn't even get time to do half of it really. Did we? It's a bit of a shame, but we did head up a few blocks up to a little plaza to have dinner.
That plaza was the Della Spirito Santo, and this we actually it was probably the first dinner that we hadn't had with the group.
Yes,
we had it with Annie and Wayne.
And you probably don't remember this. That's why I'm going to jump in here. All throughout Italy, they have fountains where you can get free water, and there was one here, and they actually made it look like a fairy garden. And
I do remember.
Okay, so
I only just remember it then, but yeah, I do remember.
There's a photo of it, and I took that obviously for the grandkids. But then, it's really beautiful. They've got little figurines and little plants, and and then down the bottom you can get your free water. I thought it was really special. And we sat right there in the middle of that plaza, didn't we?
Yeah. And now they were that dinner that night. I remember I had the bacalhau, which is basically the local cod, and that was €22. Leanne, you had lamb chops. Tell them about the lamb chops.
Oh, they were just really, they were so good. Like a bit after lots of pasta and lots of pizza. I was pretty happy with them.
Well, you and Annie both had that.
Yeah.
And anyway, we had we stuck to the house wine. It was €6 a glass. It was a decent sized glass, and it was pretty well full. So
we had a few of them.
But
it was just lovely out in that little plaza, and a bit quieter than the main plaza area where most people go.
Yeah, and I think we were there a little bit earlier than the normal locals would eat. So I sort of, not that we got rushed out, but I think that they were, Amalfi was one of those places where they need to move people on once you've had dinner.
The normal Italian way.
However, I think because of how much we had drunk,
yes,
of the house wine, they were more than happy for us to stay, which will probably lead into a story of what happened later that evening.
Well, it wasn't that much later. It was what I was going to say though, by the time we left, it was dark.
Sure.
And they've got it decorated, Amalfi, really pretty at night. They've got all these fairy lights and beautiful illuminated it's decorations above the walkways and things. And I've got some beautiful photos of that. It's really pretty.
Do you think that may be in relation to
the festival that was going on? Yeah. Which we haven't talked about yet. Shush! Yeah. You're a spoiler alerter. You just shush up. No, don't even go there, man. Keep it to the end.
So
anyway, so we are heading home.
Yeah. So after sufficiente, enough wine, we get towards where we're staying.
The plaza.
The Duomo Plaza.
So what we've done, we've arrived in the Duomo Plaza. They've got the restaurants have got their tables out, but there's a stage set up.
Yeah.
Which we'd seen in the day, and we're like, okay, what's going on here? But at night time, it's beautiful. It's got all this decoration. It's lit up, and there's a band playing, and there's a singer playing, and there's people sitting on the church steps, and there's people at the restaurants, and our hotel's right behind that. Like, in fact, I got a photo of Lyle, and he's standing out in the balcony with his arms up in the air, and I'm waiting downstairs. I don't know if I was waiting to get the photo. You probably had to go back to the toilet or something.
No, I had to go back to the toilet. So
anyway, so he's just like doing this pose up there,
and the music. That what they were was a lady singing, and she was singing like both in Italian and English. So, really popular
Songs.
pop songs.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really great
We had
atmosphere.
enough wine to think we were Torval and Dean on the.
So not Torval and Dean. They had the ice skaters, you banana. I would have said Ginger Roger and Fred Astaire. Yeah, so we
know about 4 salsa moves, which we put together in about 10 different combinations, and we
do, and and that was right below the balcony, and the stage was set up. So look, we had such a good time.
We were dancing.
We were doing the salsa, as Leanne said, and actually we must have been either making a fool of ourselves or we looked good. I'm thinking maybe the first option there was good because there was some people, a couple standing next to us, and when they decided they'd had enough and they were going home, they actually came up and thanked us and shook our hand.
Yeah, for being such good dancers and entertaining them.
Yeah. So that just gives you an idea how bad we were.
We did have someone tell us once, or say to us once, you guys, know what you're doing. You must have had lessons.
Remember that's true. And I remember over to the side, Mandy and Chrissy were just pissing themselves laughing.
They were laughing.
I remember going up to Wayne, and it's a funny story. We went to a...
it better be funny.
No, when we went to the Melbourne casino, we went to that show, and it was the Las Vegas.
Anyway, this is not at all relevant.
And Wayne's taken off his shirt.
Wayne likes to take his shirt off and throw it around his head when he's had it. So you were trying to make him.
I was trying to get him to do it, but he obviously hadn't had as much wine as I had.
No,
and he decided he wasn't going to do it.
Luckily, you kept yours on, and thanks for giving people that visual of us dancing.
It was just the best way to finish the night.
As you can imagine, we've had a big day the day before. We've been out having some drinks. We've been dancing in the plaza.
Can I just add one thing? We were the only couple dancing.
Were we? Are you sure?
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Anyway, thank you for interrupting me. Now, where was I? Morning.
Sure.
We are a bit tired, we know we don't have to get up early this morning. And then all of a sudden, we hear this horrendous noise. Do you remember?
Yeah, sure.
It was cannons firing.
I actually thought it was the start of the Third World War.
It was 6 a.m, so the sun was barely rising.
Yeah.
And
the bell was going?
The bell was just going. There's cannons firing. We didn't know they were cannons. We couldn't see them, but the others could from the other side. And they're just going, honestly, for 10 minutes.
Well, I thought it was more. Yeah.
So you just, honestly, we had no idea what was happening. And it was just absolute chaos, it seemed.
Yeah, well, I got up and got out of bed and looked, opened the curtain and opened the door onto the balcony.
No one was running around. There was a problem. So
there was no panic. But I'm thinking, well, I don't know what it is, but...
Anyway, we're going to tell you what it was because it took us a while to find out what it was, didn't it?
Sure.
But that was our wake-up call. So, up we get for breakfast. And but as part of the Intrepid tour, they included a walk to... what was that walk called?
Okay. It's the
Valley of the Gods or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's along the narrow trail of the famous Sentiero degli Dei. So it's the Walk of the Gods.
You could have just said that. That's much easier.
I'm getting pretty good at
anyway,
this.
Before you go, tell us about that. That was part of the day that was planned, and we had the choice if we could go or not. Now, we opted out because I've got a bit of a dicky leg, and it was so hot, and some of the
so
conditions.
Luca explained the walk would take around 4 to 5 hours.
Yep.
It's about 9 to 10K. It's steep in places and has many stairs. The descent to Positano has more than 1,500 steps and can be challenging. So
there's only one of us decided to go, and that was Cassia. And
that's right.
Cassia and Luca.
And it was going to be a pretty hot day.
Yeah, so they head off quite early because there was only the two of them, and the rest of us got tickets, and we were going to meet them in Positano. We got a ferry, yes?
Yeah,
and we were quite happy to do that.
You bought the tickets online?
Yep.
It was only about a 30-minute travel time.
Now, I wasn't keen because of the bad experience that we'd had in Como trying to get on ferries. So I was a bit, like, do I really want to do that again? It's, our last day with everybody.
So what was it like?
It was great.
Yeah, the ferry was so
efficient.
modern.
We had our tickets. There was, it was just no issue at all. There's plenty of seats. It was really good.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and the crew, they were filling jugs of limoncello spritz.
Yeah.
And they were going around, offering you
I
a
didn't
drink.
have one because of what I explained earlier. It was a bit of a slow morning start for me.
I've got to put my hand up. I was the same. I was a little bit tired and emotional, so I didn't have one. But the fact that the crew were offering it at 9 o'clock in the morning.
But how good's that, the ferry ride? Like, it's just beautiful. So you can imagine you're going from Amalfi to Positano, and the views, you're close inshore, so you can see all the houses, the luxury hotels. You can see the valley, the going up at the mountains, the whitewashed villages. It's just beautiful.
And you can see the road.
Yeah. Winding along.
The winding along. And you can see, so it gives you a totally different perspective on it, but it still looks frightening.
Yeah, it still looks frightening. So we arrive in Positano, and I think we decided we needed a cold drink first before we headed off for a little wander, didn't we? Do you remember that? We found a little restaurant to have some smoothies. I mean, they were good smoothies, but not cheap, were they?
No. Look, it was a beachfront restaurant cafe. It looked absolutely spectacular.
Yes, it's blue and white with flowers and mosaics, and I'm just, so I have to sit here at Positano on the beach and,
Sure. It was very, very chic. The slushies were smoothies, were €12 each, which is, you may as well say around $18 each. So they weren't cheap. But the funny thing about it is their computer system went down.
They couldn't cope, could they?
They had no idea of how they were going to cope, and we're just trying to, it took us ages to order them, or not so much ages to order them, but it took ages for them to come. But who cared? Yeah, we had all day,
and we're in Positano.
We're in Positano,
and where we were sitting, I've got some nice little photos, but there's artists that are doing their watercolor paintings with, like of the hillside with the coloured houses and the bougainvillea, and there's beautiful shops with glamorous clothes, and the lemon shop, it just it oozes glamour.
Oh, sure, it does. It's definitely the of the Amalfi Coast. Positano is definitely the Paris end.
Yes. So we all sort of head off, except for obviously Luca and Cassia. They're on their walk, and we're going to meet up with them. And we just go exploring, So we're wandering around, and a lot of the walkways are covered in these beautiful flowers, and there's bougainvilleas. It's a bit different to your normal tourist places. I mean, it's high-end galleries, art.
Yeah, you walk into the art galleries, and the art is just blows your mind.
Yeah.
But all the people behind the counters, I'm not sure whether the owners of the shops or not, but they look glamorous as well. Like, it's really, really glamorous.
And the fashion shops, and then obviously the lemon shops. So we sort of walked around and went up to the top of town, and I wanted to buy a T-shirt.
You did.
And we found a little shop that had some nice T-shirts. I don't know what I wanted. I wanted something that said Positano that wasn't just saying Positano. So I found this beautiful T-shirt of Frida Kahlo with lemons on her head. So I really loved that. But Lyle, he got chatting to the owner, didn't you?
Yeah, I wasn't really looking for anything in particular, but
you could see some photos on the wall.
Yeah, well, what happened was as Leanne said, the dominant fabric pattern in all of Amalfi Coast is the lemon. And I saw this
because there's lemon groves everywhere. You can see why.
Yeah, so we walked into the shop. We had no idea what the shop was, but we walked in, and I found a shirt, and I tried on one that was probably one size too small. And anyway, the lady came up, and she was an older lady, and she said, "Yeah, it looks good." Leanne said, "No, need a bigger one." So I put the bigger one on. Anyway, it turned out that
Yes.
That particular shop is the oldest shop in Positano, and it's been there since 1946. And the original owner, well, yeah, it is. Well, it's still even
it's
now.
Called that, isn't it?
It's called Maria Lampo Sartoria, which is basically
Maria Lampo Taylor.
Yeah. And her and her husband, they started it. Now, the lady that served me was the daughter of the original owner, Maria Lampo. Yes. And when I bought it, I was chatting to her, and she was just lovely. She was delightful, and so she said, "Come with me," and she took me around the back of the counter area, and he
was like, "Woohoo!"
And I thought I was getting lucky, but anyway, here she is. She shows me a photo of her mother with Dustin Hoffman in one, and Colin Farrell in another, and there was a whole bunch of others. Photos of celebrities with her mum, and I was blown away. Like,
so if Fly wasn't convinced just because she told him how lovely he looked, he was convinced.
I would have paid anything for the shirt then. Yeah. So anyway, look,
you do get lots of comments on that shirt.
I did. I wore it that night,
and there's a photo to prove it on the website. So go to beachtravelwine.com, episode 72, to see Lyle in his famous lemon shirt.
Yeah, and actually Wayne said to me the next day...
He's sitting with Wayne, and Wayne was jealous, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was jealous. He said, I'm thinking about getting one of those shirts. So
anyway. All right, so after we've bought a shirt and I've got a T-shirt, we've wandered around all these glamorous streets. We're on our WhatsApp group with our Intrepid Travel Tour friends, aren't we? So that's been so handy through the whole week as well, being able to do that with everybody and keep in touch. And Luca and Cassia have arrived back. And we all agree we don't want to go for a big expensive lunch. You know, we're having dinner together later, our final dinner. And so I think Christy and Mandy found this gorgeous little Italian deli, sort of just down from the cathedral.
Yeah, that was called...
Vino something, wasn't it?
Yes, that was called Vino Panini.
Yeah, I was going to say Vino Panini. And so what you could do is you go in and Luca helped us all because, you know, obviously having an Italian guide is what you need. And he's pointing out the meats and the cheeses, and they make the fresh paninis for you, which was just wonderful. And they were so cheap too. It was, it wasn't expensive at all.
It was like, I think there was 2 panini and 2 soft drinks, and I think that was mainly due because we were still a little bit tired and emotional after the night of dancing the night before. And it was 17. It's about €17, so that was
some
good.
Some of them
got and they were really, really nice.
They were beautiful, and some of them just got like a cheese platter and from the deli. So that was really nice. And Cassia and Luca, as they should have been, looked a bit hot and bothered, it was a long walk, and Cassie said it was challenging, but it was just incredible.
But it wasn't like 5 hours. It was like something like...
Yeah, but that would have been with us probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, good call.
Yeah. So we hop back on our ferry, and once again, no dramas, there's a bit of a lineup, but everybody who's there gets back on the ferry.
But there was plenty of room.
Well,
you went outside and took photos, and I just sat inside in the air conditioning. And it was there was a lot of room.
Yeah, it was
great.
It
was really good.
Yeah, really nice. So we hop on that for our lovely half-hour trip back to Amalfi, yeah?
Sure.
So now it's getting a bit sad because it's our last dinner together as a group, and we've become great friends and enjoyed each other's company. It's just been a wonderful week, and I did talk to most of the people on our tour, and I'm going to and ask them some questions that I want to include at towards the end of the podcast, because it's not just our opinion. We travelled with them, but our last dinner, once again, Lucas picked a bloody winner, hasn't he?
Yeah, Ristorante da Maria. We had dinner, and you had seafood pasta, and I had the fried local fish. And again, as you say, it was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah. And as we've said in previous podcasts, you just order what you want, and Lucas sorts the money out at the end. It's just so helpful, isn't it?
Yeah. And just that particular night, I think I had the house wine again. And I've got to tell you, we've had house wine in most places we've been in Italy, and we haven't had a bad one.
No, we haven't had a bad wine in Italy.
No, that's true. So if you see that there's only house wine on the menus, which you will through Italy, Don't be put off. The
Just go for
wine's
it.
generally pretty good.
I saw something the other day that said, I don't know the true meaning of happiness, but I know I've never been sad drinking wine in Italy.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So we must have gone quite early to dinner because they were setting up more stuff in the plaza when we're going. So the night before they'd had the band and dancing. So we've gone off to dinner, and as I said, we've chatted, and I've made some notes about some of the other people think of the tour and what etc. And we decide we're going to walk home. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Look, it was we couldn't believe how busy the streets were. Like it had gone to another level, and as we got to the piazza,
Oh my gosh,
Duomo, you really couldn't move. I mean,
we had
seriously. And what had happened is they'd actually closed restaurants down so that they could fit more people.
So
and you've got to realise we had no idea what was going on.
No, and this is related to the cannons going off in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was going on at all, and
Well, apart from the locals.
yes, and obviously other tourists, but none of our group did.
No.
But we knew it was something significant. But we were just trying to get back to our hotel and back to our balcony so we could sit and watch what was going on.
Yeah, because the stage was set up with the marching band, and there was opera singers. So it was
but we knew something big was coming, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we are trying to walk through this crowd, and I don't know that I've ever been in a more packed in group of people. And we're following Mandy, and there's you and I, and then the others are behind us. Now we've lost the others; they've given up trying to go through because the people that we're going past are getting so angry with us. They think. I think they think we're trying to find a better spot, but we are basically just trying to get back to our hotel.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't know that there was another way. Apparently there was. You could go up and around, but we didn't know. And so Mandy, speaking a bit of Italian, she's saying to them, oh, she doesn't feel well. We've got to get her to the doctor. I didn't know that's what she's saying. I thought that's what she was saying because I'm pretending to be a bit fainty, and we've got to get back to our hotel. But people are still angry, and we're still trying to get through. And you feel like the mob was going to turn on you any minute. But we just had, I don't know, basically 10 meters to get through to the end, didn't we? And we finally pushed our way through. It was a bit scary, to be honest.
Sure, and I think what, as we found out, it was actually a religious public holiday.
Okay, don't go there yet. We're not there yet. We're not quite there.
And I think people thought we were being disrespectful, and we weren't. We weren't intentionally.
Well, I don't think.
But I can understand.
I don't think that's what they thought at all. I think they thought we were trying to get a better spot, and everybody wants to be where they are, and we're moving.
Well, that's been disrespectful
Is
too.
it?
Yeah,
I don't think
so.
I mean, I've been in a concert situation where I'm up the front and got my spot, and someone's trying to get through, and I don't want to let them through because I feel like they're going to push me out of the way. So that's my opinion. But anyway, we made it back to our hotel.
We did.
Me, and Mandy.
Yep.
And we go up to the balcony, and we can see down to the others, sort of over in the crowd, way over in the other side. So they're sort of stuck over there. And then what? Okay, you said it's a religious festival. It was the Sant Andreas Day. So this is Saint Andrew, who the church is named after. Yeah. His crypt is in this church. This happens every year on the 27th of June, and they start with cannon fire and bells ringing at 6 a.m. and they finish the night with this. I guess celebration. What would you call this?
Yeah. So look, after the evening mass, the procession begins.
A procession.
Procession begins, led by the Archbishop of Amalfi, and is followed by the statue of Sant Andrea.
So he's there giving a bit of a sermon-y thing on the stairs or blessing, So we're watching that. And Sant Andrea there's a big gold.
Yeah, it's a huge
gold statue.
Yeah, it's actually silver.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so it's actually silver, and it's on a big base, and it's carried, and they say between 16 and 20 men because it's that heavy.
And it's down at the bottom of the stairs leading up to the church. So there's got all these, like the people involved in the procession down there.
So off they go, and the marching band. So off they go, and they go and walk the streets, and then come back, and now, this whole procession, this whole patron saint thing is remembered for the miracle that occurred in 1544 when the people of Amalfi prayed to their saint to protect them from attack by the Barbarossa pirates. The town was saved from attack by a sudden and terrible sea storm. So that's what it's
Right.
about.
So they believe that he protected them by that storm.
Yeah,
which
he
sent
caused the storm. Now,
so and that happened on the 27th of June, and that's why they celebrate. So we've arrived back at our balcony after this procession has happened. There's been this build up, and we're ready for the final act, which we still didn't know what it was.
Yeah. So after the benediction on the beach, so it goes down to the beach, and because it's it's an old fishing village basically, they do the benediction on the beach. The procession returns to the Piazza Duomo for the dramatic running of the statue of Saint Andrea up the 62 steps of the Duomo.
So all of a sudden, these guys lift up this silver statue.
There's this what would you call it? It just stops. Everybody just stops.
They know it's coming.
Yeah, they know it's coming. We had no idea.
No, that's what I mean. It's building up. We're like, what's happening, and everything. All of a sudden, everything stops. They pick up this thing. It's like this is happening in about a point, not even a second, and then they run.
They run up the 62 steps.
Yeah. And that takes maybe 20 seconds of that.
Yeah, and of course the crowd just goes
berserk.
Wild. It's just incredible. And we just had no idea. So
and then obviously, they're playing music, there's bands going, and it's we're just like, well, they're talking about fireworks at midnight, and sure enough, midnight, fireworks. I don't know how long they went for, but not just fireworks. The cannons start firing again.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
And then the band, I think they played till at least 1 a.m. It just went on and on. So we've gone from 6 a.m. from the cannon fire and the bell ringing to trying to get through this crowd, to have no idea what's going on. And then, it was pretty special to see it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it would have been really, really good to know that it was going to happen. And I'm sure we would have probably appreciated it a lot more.
And yes, I agree. But anyway, we all got to see it, which was pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was special.
Yeah, it was very special. So that was our last night together on our Intrepid tour with our friends from Rome to Amalfi. I did get to see everyone the next morning and say goodbye, which was nice, a nice little brekkie. One of the options that Intrepid Travel gives you is if you want to stay longer afterwards. So we decided that we did want to stay an extra night. You and I and our friends Anne and Wayne. We got up and were able to say goodbye to everybody, and we're still in touch, which is really nice today. So we made some nice friends and enjoyed our time with them. But today we decided that we were going to do a walk, and which I think one of the things one of the other guys on the tour said was they realised that Amalfi is so much more than just the beach, because they had been and discovered a beautiful waterfall walk.
Yeah, that was Mandy and Christy. They
and Luca went with them as well.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right.
And so we decided we were going to do that walk. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is called the Valle della Ferreria. Ferriere. Okay, La Valle della Ferriere. So, and look at the walk. It was beautiful.
Or the hike of the waterfalls. You take your choice.
They call it Paradise Lost. Okay, so.
And you basically start from our hotel.
Yeah, and it's 7.5K.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy walk. I wouldn't suggest it was easy. It took us about 2 hours.
There's actually a couple of ways you can go. Because the girls had already done it, they did the loop, and they said they wouldn't do the loop. They just go to the top, where then you can see the big waterfall, and they'd come back the same way, because the other way there was quite a lot of stairs, and they thought that was a bit harder. So, but the way we went was up to the waterfall, and then we came back the same track.
Yeah. Well, there was plenty of stairs up too.
But they said it was even more so, and they'd done it, so I took their word for it.
And
Yeah.
there are maps available at the Tourist Information Centre.
Mm.
And so that gives you, I think that'll be worth getting. We didn't get them at the start.
No.
But on the way back, we did get them, and they give a lot more detail of what was actually there.
But
Now,
what I loved is when you first start, you're only just sort of, not far out of town, and the views back towards the coast. You're standing above a lemon orchard, looking down over the valley, over this sort of city of Amalfi, down to the ocean. So even if you don't want to do the whole track, it's worth doing a bit of it because of the different view you get from up there.
well, it's definitely like the thing geologically, you'd call it a ravine. A ravine.
Yes.
So
It's where two mountains join. You're walking on the edge of one.
yeah, and it's and you can see all the citrus orchards,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely, even before you get to the I don't know, the more interesting part of the walk, just to get there is worth the scenery.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was just saying.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I've just got highlights.
Yeah.
The Caneto waterfall is 25-meter cascade of.
So these are all the things you'll see on the way. Yep.
Of the Rio Caneto.
Mm-hmm.
There's a petrified moss wall.
Yes.
A huge
beautiful.
water saturated sponge which drips continuously, a system of living stalactites arising from the buildup of calcium bicarbonate presents in the water. Look, I actually was blown away by that, and it's quite big.
And I was just going to say, I did go a bit overboard on the photos on this walk because it was just so beautiful and so different. And once again, beachtravelwine.com, go to the podcast page, episode 72, because you won't believe that this is at the Amalfi Coast, is what I'm trying to say, because it's just so pretty. So you've done the waterfall, that petrified wall with all the moss.
There's prehistoric ferns.
Yep, beautiful.
The exceptional climate conditions allow the presence of very rare ferns which date back to the period of 65 million years ago. Not sure how they come up with 65 million years ago, but the ferns, and they were beautiful.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Sort of, tropical, humid,
there
beautiful.
Was ancient ironworks,
mm-hmm.
water mills, and paper mill ruins.
There was lots of those. Yeah, it was. I've got some beautiful photos of those. I was stunned, and you could walk in through them, and sitting on the side, of a little creek running through, just in the moss and the green sort of ferns going down to the water, and you could just imagine what it was like all those years ago. Beautiful, weren't they?
Yeah, and look, at the end of town, like
yes.
the boundary of town to then the start of the walk, there's a what they call the Fore Porta Agricola Ristorante.
Okay.
And we did on the way back because it was a fairly decent walk.
Well, Mandy and the others had gone there, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, really, really, really.
And I've got a photo. They've got like the chilies hanging down, and they farm all their own vegetables, and they've got them sort of sitting out, and the tables are quite rustic, and you've got the views down over the mount. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's just like that's stepping back in time to that little place, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think I said to you at the time that if I had have known how beautiful the walks were, because apparently there's similar walks in Sorrento, also in Positano, like the major towns, they've got these walks, because I was absolutely amazed on how beautiful it was.
Yeah, we would do another one.
I highly recommend that if you do go to Amalfi, you need to do that.
And
walk.
I'll put I'll have the map on the web page, episode 72, and I'll have it's an interactive map, so you can actually see where this is, and you can click on it and get the information for that. But yeah, but the funny thing is we came across this part of the track that was closed,
That's right.
and then so there was another part that went, and we weren't going to do it because I'm like, oh, my leg, the track looks like it's a bit dodgy, and Anne and Wayne went ahead, and I'm just like, oh, maybe, and I went back to the restaurant and asked them, and what she said was, that's been like that forever. It's basically there's a detour which takes you around to the track, but there was no signage to tell you. I just thought the track was closed. So anyway, we went round it, and I'm so glad we did, because I don't know how many waterfalls we saw, or little, wooden bridges going over the creeks, and there was no one there.
Yeah, it was quiet.
It was so quiet.
Yeah, it was. I think that was part of why I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, is there anything else you want to add? Because there's that big waterfall you get to at the end, which is like, you have to pay to go into that national park.
Yeah, that's €5.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Look, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But obviously, once we finished, we were pretty hot, so we decided that it was our last afternoon in Italy, really, but especially in Amalfi. So Wayne was determined he was going to go for a swim in the beach.
Yeah, we thought we would. We'd go. So we went down to the main beach area of Amalfi.
And that main beach is called Spiaggia della Serena.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah,
I knew you'd be impressed. And it was very, very busy, and it's a gravel rather than sand beach.
I know, but you got it. You got to do it.
Yeah, and well, it was a beautiful day, and it was hot. It really was hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like perfecto.
Yeah.
It was great.
And so that was our last day. We had one more night, and what we did was we hopped on a private transport. Actually, I don't think we paid for that. I better get on to our friends. I just remembered. And we headed back to Naples, where we got a train
to Rome.
And that was the end of our time in Italy. Wow. But you know what? Because we have spent 8 weeks in Italy, we're going to do another show next week, going over a summary and the highlights and tips and tricks about traveling through Italy. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we're going to do that for you. Before I do a quick summary of our tour and tell you what our friends thought of it. Lyle's got what is it?
The Greek myth of Amalfi.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure whether it was written back then or whether it was basically
made up now. But anyway.
Made up now by the Amalfi Tourism Authority.
But
according to tradition, Hercules, the Greek warrior god, loved a nymph named Amalfi, who alas died young, grieving the passing of his beloved and seeking the most beautiful place on earth in which to bury her. He chose the present-day Amalfi, naming the spot after her.
See? It's beautiful, isn't it?
See? I'm not sure how true that is, but...
Oh, you're funny. All right.
But I got it. I got it researched.
Okay. So, as I said, we've finished our Italian trip in total, but also our small group tour with Intrepid Travel, right? Now, in Intrepid Travel... basically, one of the things they talk about, it's small group travel that's good all over, good news, good friends, good views. And you'd have to say that's true.
Sure.
Yeah. And they say their tours aren't defined by age or ability. They're designed for people from all walks of life who share a passion for travel and a curiosity about the world. That's pretty true. Yeah.
Sure.
And they are small groups, and they average about 10. Now, we had 8 on ours. The maximum is 12, so they average about 10. So that's a pretty good number, because on our tour we made some really great friends, didn't we?
Well, I think because the number's so small, you actually do have the opportunity to get to know the people.
Some of the benefits, though, for me was we got to travel with our friends, so that was nice. That
Anne and Wayne,
right? And then we made new friends.
Yep.
And I think, as I said, we're still in contact with them. And we were on our own for 7 weeks traveling through Italy. And so it was just so nice to be on a tour where everything was done for you, from choosing the restaurants and everything. It was just made it so easy, didn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. And, we were in a spectacular area, of course,
I think that made...
from Rome to Amalfi, I mean, how are you going to go wrong?
Yeah, seriously, it was...
We've been to Pompeii, we've been, to Mount Vesuvius, we've been to Naples, we've been to Sorrento,
Positano,
wow, all the what do they call them in Africa, the top 5, big 5. We've been to all the big places. The other thing about this tour is we had 2 nights in each place, which we loved, because we've done other tours where it's just been rush. 2 nights mean, and it's not that far traveling between each one, which is also what we like. You just have that bit of time. It's not up early. You're not being rushed around, are you?
Well, one of the things they say, if you would recommend it to a friend,
yes,
that's a pretty high Uh,
And we definitely would.
yeah, I definitely
We'll do
would.
another Intrepid tour.
Yeah, I like, and I'm not normally into tours,
Mm.
but to be honest, I couldn't fault it.
No, it was great. Well, and it was the small group, and the location of the hotels for me, and as that's one of the things that they pride themselves on, and they nail that as well.
Well, I take my hat off to Luca.
Yeah,
The restaurants, he got them 10 out of 10
yeah,
each time.
yeah, yeah. So when I spoke to some of the people on our tour, so we've got Mandy and Christy, we've got Anne and Wayne, and we have Lynn and Cassia.
Yeah.
Right. I sort of spoke to all of them about different things, but I said I wanted to ask some of them, like, tell me what your thoughts were. Give me one thing about the Intrepid tour that sticks in your mind. And this is probably more to do with Italy than the tour itself. But Christy said there's just a crazy number of steps. Like, she just couldn't believe how many steps there were, and that's true through all of Italy, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so true. Cassia said, this was interesting. She couldn't believe that how many beach clubs there were. She said there's so many beaches, but the small amount that you can go on to is quite.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, quite amazing. Because most of them they're private and you've got to pay.
Well, interesting, in Positano,
yeah,
there's actually a beach just for locals.
Yeah, so not even tourist all that stuff. Now, Mandy and Christy didn't know each other before this tour, so they paid, so they were sharing, and they both said that, they were a bit nervous, like, because you don't know who you're going to end up with, but they said it just made it's so good, and they tell people who are thinking about it, just take the risk and share, because you'll end up with a really nice friend.
Sure.
So that's nice. And also, I think Mandy said she said there should be more public space on the beaches, and there's a lot more to Amalfi Coast than just the beaches, the coast, which I think is true. And interesting, Lynn, the lady from the UK, she said that she was really surprised about Pompeii and how big it was. And she just thought the tour we did there was fabulous. That was one of her favourites. So I thought that was pretty cool. And what about you? What stood out? Give me one, two.
What stood out to me about the tour, I just loved, well, to me it was almost like a combination of what we love. We love to do our own thing, but at the same time, it was such a pleasure for Luca to organise the dinners and stuff. So to me, it was the best of both worlds.
It had a good mix, didn't it, of time on our own and of tours, and the tours we did were top notch.
Oh, the tours were like that. The Isle of Capri.
Yep. Pompeii, Vesuvius.
Sure. Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was fabulous. So I did, once again, the question I ask at the end of the episodes is your favourite place to have a drink. Now, I don't think I got everybody, which is a shame, but Lynn said that she liked the Bramble restaurant in Rome, the first one, because isn't that interesting?
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Anne and Wayne said they liked the lemon restaurant in Sorrento. She just thought that was magical. Yeah,
sure.
To have a cut wine. Christy, here we go. She said in the plaza, dancing in the street. So, having a drink there was pretty nice. And also on the balcony, because we get a wine from the reception and stand there on the balcony and have a cheap wine.
Sure.
And Cassia, I think you'll agree with Cassia here. She said the rooftop bar in Pompeii.
Yeah, I'm with her.
Yeah. So, but you can't use any of those. Out of the whole place where we were, through this tour, where was your favourite place to have a glass of wine?
Oh, my goodness. The whole place.
That's a tough one.
I'd say probably because I enjoyed the food so much in Sorrento was the
restaurant.
Leone Rosso.
Okay, next.
Because the food was just brilliant.
Yep.
So that's me.
Okay.
And it didn't have the view, but the food was so good.
Okay. I think, it is a tough one. The rooftop bar was pretty special. But I'd like to say probably maybe with Lynn, but I'm thinking I'm going to go the other way, is our last dinner together in Amalfi, where we were all there and we all had our last glass of wine together, which I just thought was a pretty special thing, because we've gone from complete strangers
Sure.
to really good friends sharing amazing memories, in this beautiful part of the world. So So if you're ever thinking of doing a tour, we'd certainly recommend Intrepid Travel, and certainly recommend the Rome to Amalfi. Yes.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
It was. All right. Well, have you got anything else you'd like to add?
No. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Until next time.